What do you see with respect to screen?
You have a lot of open tabs.
Yeah,
How's
a
that?
lot of tabs.
Yeah, don't look at my tabs. Oh my God. Oh my God, you got my tabs. Okay, I'll wait for you to give me the cue there, Matt, where we're at.
You're all set.
Okay, hi everybody. And welcome back. We have a really exciting group today. We missed you last week. It's March break for some of you. Super happy. We have a recording on, Matt. Yeah, cool. All right. So today is something that we call FounderXFunder. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to have a panel conversation with our investors here after we do our intros, and that's going to be about the relationship with investors and how you close your deal, some tips, red flags from their perspective. And then Matt will talk us through next steps for wrapping up the cohort. And then we'll break out and do mini roundtables. These we did with the local cohort in person in February. If you want to stick around and do the breakout with the founder roundtables moderated by the investors here today, you're all most welcome. It's not obligatory. So yeah, so we're going to, I think, get out of the screen and for a bit and do some hellos. Here we go. Hi, everybody. See some familiar faces. If we're all going to be chatting a little bit right now. So if, yeah, you can turn on your videos if you're in a good spot. That would be really great. I'm going to start today so you have a feel for our panelist guests who are volunteering today. I'm going to start letting them introduce themselves. We do have another angel who's going to join us in a little bit. And for our investor panelists, if you can introduce yourself. There's Victoria. Perfect. Perfect timing, Victoria. So what we're going to do is start with the investor panelists. If you can introduce yourself, tell us about the organization that you're representing today, or if you're coming as your independent angel, that's cool. And then a little bit about your investment thesis and what stage that you are investing with. And I am going to go in the order of people on my screen. So Kevin, we're going to start with you.
Sure, nice to be here. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you all. Lots of familiar faces. My name is Kevin Medill. I'm a partner with Graphite Ventures. We're a seed stage VC fund focused on B2B, B2 enterprise focused companies. I guess a little bit about myself. I live in Ottawa. I grew up in Canada and went to University for Engineering in Waterloo, lived in Europe for a couple of years, and then found my way back. I was an entrepreneur as well. I was a founder of a company called Myovision Technologies that I grew to about 200 people or so. So I've been on the other side of the table, raising money from angels, family offices, VCs, strategics, etc. So yeah, happy to answer any questions as we go here. But great to meet you all.
And Kevin is competing with bath time. He's got little ones at home. Thank you.
If you hear any screaming in the background, it's just my kids. Yeah.
Thanks. Stuart.
Hey there, everyone. Thanks for having me today. And yeah, plenty of familiar faces. Good to see everyone. I'm here representing Bridgewind Capital, specifically our MFD fund. We're a small family office located here in Ottawa. We have the pleasure of serving the Greenberg family, commonly associated with Minto. Our fund focuses primarily in the pre-seed, seed, and Series A space in the sustainability, ag tech, ed tech, and med tech. So we're a little bit all over the place. So we have plenty of different interests. But yeah, that's our space.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. By the way, all of the panelists, investors here are members of CAN or soon to be members of CAN. Hi, Farhan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me as well. Firanzo, a lot of familiar face here. I am today representing Ontario Centre of Innovation, OCI. A lot of people probably heard of us. We are the provincial level of the innovation agency. Currently on the investment side, we have 2 investment funds. One is sector agnostic, the other one is very life science focused. For our 2 investment funds, from the name of the organization, you probably can tell like we only touch Ontario-based companies. Seed or pre-seed stage, this is usually we're looking at. And also for us, the check size is a bit smaller, so usually can help early stage company to start with before they moving forward is with a lot of like venture capital.
So what is a bit smaller check size? Like what are the check sizes?
Yeah, so basically for our 2 investment funds, the life science funds, because of the particular sector, the check size we have is $500,000. Then we have the other investment fund, it's called Ready for Market. This one is basically anything else besides life science. And we have 2 check size. One is $125K and the other one is $250K, mainly for pre-seed and seed round companies.
Okay, all right, Eric.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everyone. Eric Ajman here. Nice to meet you all. I think I may have met some of you at the last event. I'm here sort of wearing 2 hats. My first hat is working with Expo Development Canada, EDC. I'm the strategic partnership manager there. I've been at EDC for the last 9 years, so I've seen all kinds of Canadian entrepreneurs at different stages in their journey, really honing on the best of what they do and take it to foreign markets, provide different level of support. So that's an area that I'm very passionate about. The other passion of mine lies with helping immigrants in Canada. And that's the other hat that I wear. That's identifying and investing in game-changing immigrant entrepreneurs as the journey for them can be uniquely challenging. So it's a place that I'm focusing on helping them scale their business. It's sector agnostic, but given my background at EDC, I do want to see the solution having a global appeal, the ability to really expand it beyond the borders of Canada. So nice to meet you. I'm looking forward to learning more about you.
Thanks, Eric. Victoria. Hi, Victoria.
Yeah, Victoria Xu. I'm one of the angel investors with Capital Angel Network. So my background is in telecom, and then but for my investment status, I'm pretty much into tech start, either med tech, biotech, or clean tech. So basically, apply tech to either save people or save the planet. I believe that in a way I am kind of typical among a lot of the CAN Angel members because I see growing interest in the both areas. So yeah, that's great to be here, and I would love to looking forward to hear a lot more interesting stories here and sharing here.
Thanks. So you can imagine being an entrepreneur and also being an angel and finding time to come to this panel today. Really appreciate you doing that, Victoria. Now we're gonna be a little bit less formal and go around the room and give a chance for the founders here to say hello. Let us know about the company that you're leading, and a little bit about where your thoughts on your raise, where you are with your raise. Yuri, can we start with you?
Yes, of course. Thank you. So my name is Yuri Kaplan. I'm one of the founders at AdMass. AdMass helps companies drive sales and reduce cost of advertising through an AI that turns customers into brand advocates. So it hops on top of that generative AI and and basically can deliver 5 times more sales and 100 times more content thanks to our methodology. We have been self-financed up until now, bootstrap. We're raising our first round, pre-seed, $500,000 round. We have a few interested investors, but are still looking for a lead. We actually have had a conversation with OCI, but of course they're waiting for our lead. So we're super excited about that opportunity. And I believe we spoke at SAS North, Kevin, if I remember correctly. So it's great to see everybody, and yeah, we're super excited to learn more and do more.
Thanks, Yuri. Curtis.
Hey everyone, I'm Curtis Sicalo, the founder of VoiceFlip. We are a B2B SaaS company that uses natural language processing, AI, and voice to make searching for real estate more accessible, more inclusive, and about 100 times faster than it currently is. You can do an incredibly long tail search, and it pulls up results within a second, as opposed to taking half an hour, 45 minutes, or multiple days to do a search normally and find the place you're looking for.
And what's happening with your raise?
Oh yeah, sorry, completely forgot about that part. Yeah, we're hoping to start our raise end of April here. We're looking for about $500,000. I think a pre-seed round, although we are generating revenue. We're in three countries right now. Currently expanding to the US. So yeah, we'll see.
Thank you. Hi, Karen. Karen, were you like shortlisted in the DMZ competition recently? I was bumping into your deck again when I was giving my insights there. Please tell everybody else who hasn't met you yet.
Yeah, sure. So Karen Chauvin, the founder of Enviro Integration Strategies. And our company has developed a platform to evaluate the risks of major mine waste infrastructure. So the intent is to help prevent failure of these facilities, which both protects the environment and people who live downstream of these facilities. And it gives owners of these facilities a good handle on where their gaps are so that they could proactively take care of those issues. I guess would say we've been in a number of pitches recently. That's been sort of our foot in the door to raising. We haven't officially reached out to individual investors quite yet. And we're focused a lot on getting, we've been bootstrapping to date. So we've been focusing a lot on just getting some IRAP dollars and the project proposals in. And then the next phase will be looking at investors as well. And I think we're looking at about $500,000 as well.
Cool. Thank you. Reza.
Hello. Nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Reza, co-founder and CTO of Spatium. At Spatium, we're building a refueling station up in space for satellites, rockets, and orbiters. Sorry for the background noise. And yeah, we just recently finished a small angel round. We're moving to the next round soon. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. How much did you raise, and how much will you be raising?
We will be raising about 1.5 million. That's kind of the game plan is. We raised about, I guess, 150K. Just we finished it. It was a small round.
Okay.
And that's what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Audrey, hello.
Hey everybody. Most of the angels here know me from the hood. Ottawa's a small town, so Vault is a collaborative information management and communication platform for family caregivers, and we help them securely organize, store, and share vital information within their circle of care. We use a B2B SaaS model and a multi-channel approach now, and we get our mobile app into the hands of these family caregivers by partnering with healthcare providers. So currently we partner with pharmaceutical manufacturers and advocacy groups, which is a new channel for us. So we help them communicate, engage the patients and caregivers in their health journey, and gather vital patient and caregiver reported insights. So we actually have a bit of a data play now. We did do a friends and family round just before COVID that helped us build our MVP. So we raised about 540,000 at that time, and then just kind of simmered along throughout the last 2 years. We started a pre-seed round in the summertime. We raised our first tranche. We were actually about to close it. But I think I mentioned that for those that were here in Ottawa, we actually declined one of the investors that we had gone through 3 months of DD with. It was a $525,000 investment offer with a private equity group, but we had a dig deep, and we realized that they were not the right partners for us. And so we actually declined the money. So what we actually did is, instead of closing the round, we closed the tranche that we had, deployed the funds towards our use of funds, and we really wanted to get moving, and we did, so now we're actually just circling back to kind of close it. So we're at 75% closed. We have a $150,000 left for this kind of it's another pre-seed round, right? We're like in this weird place between pre-seed and seed, and we're going to close this small round, and we're very close to hitting we've got a lot of traction. We're about to, I think we've got a really big deal we're about to close, and I think once that happens, we'll probably start raising the next round, because those of you that have been doing it, sometimes it can take a while. So,
Well, thanks. Trevor, hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor Loke. I'm the co-founder and CEO of OrgMatch, calling in from Vancouver. So thank you, everyone, for having me. We are using artificial intelligence to democratize networking for funders and nonprofits, helping them to collaborate and form partnerships. What can I say? We've bootstrapped to date. We are raising $350,000 pre-seed round, and we are working with a lead investor that's committed $150,000.
Cool. Nice to see you there, Trevor. You were at SAS North, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if the others have met you there. Cool. Hi.
Hey, this is Cole from AgeRate. At AgeRate, we offer an at-home blood test and a mobile app that allows consumers to track and optimize how well they're aging. We recently closed a small round of $500K, and later this year, we'll be looking at raising a larger round of $2 million.
Congratulations. It's awesome. Hi, Nabil.
Hi, everyone. So, I want to start from, maybe a little bit earlier. I am an immigrant, came to Canada in 2007. And my background is all in the tech industry, B2B, digital experience platforms. Back in the late 90s, I was the first one to implement in the Middle East, the first online payment for the first ISP in the region at that time. So came to Canada in 2007, worked as, in the tech industry, architecture and project management. I'm an entrepreneur by DNA. And in 2013, I was sponsored by the Canadian Trade Commissioner to the Silicon Valley, and I spent 3 months at Plug and Play accelerator there on a startup that didn't work out at that time. It was a great learning experience for me. And then in late 2014, I quit my job at Canadian Tire after I implemented the Adobe AM and Hybris e-commerce project for Canadian Tire to start a company called Tech Guilds, which is now a company that is around $5 million company. I have around 30 people focusing on digital experience platforms implementation for B2B government and big companies and nonprofits. And the startup that I am here representing is called Kaju.ai. It's an AI-powered platform that helps B2B marketers to really own converting designs into code, integrated with the enterprise digital experience platforms and CMSs and commerce platforms, very, very quickly. So instead of spending months and months implementing your website on these, enterprise platforms, with AI and Kaju, you can really build these websites and components from Figma to code and to going live in like days rather than months. So I was at SAS North.
Okay.
I was actually nominated for the AWS Pitch Fest. I'm gonna put the pitch on the chat here, and yeah, I've met Matthew there, so that's why I'm here. I'm raising a seed round for Kaju. Kaju is currently funded by Tech Guilds. We invested around like $1 million in building the platform. We have a market fit right now. It's mature. We have 250 companies signed up for the beta version. And I'm raising a seed round of $500,000 to $1 million at this stage.
Where's your headquarters, Nabil?
Oh, we are in Toronto. I'm sorry.
Okay, just down the road. All right, cool. Io, how are you?
Very good. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here. I'm Ayo, the founder of Marshmallow Studios. We're right now creating Learn Active, which connects sport instructors with sport enthusiasts in order to make sports more accessible. And we're also taking that a bit further by deploying our 2 billion parameter computer vision AI that would also assist sport instructors and sport enthusiasts in their classes, and also create quick sports and suggest quick sports depending on whatever conversation you have with our AI. So that's what we're working on now, redefining global sports and deploying globally. We're attempting to raise 1.5 million for our seed round in order to give us the ability to scale our AI and deploy it effectively, globally, and fast without having to our technology like copied or remade. So we would develop, the funds give us the ability to develop as fast as possible in a very fast-paced technological world.
Yes, it is. It's just getting faster, isn't it? In the last 3 months, everything's moving along. Thanks. Stephanie, hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. It was so nice to meet so many of you in person last month in Ottawa. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of MycoFutures, which is a next-gen material startup, and we're developing a leather alternative for the fashion industry using mycelium, which is the root system of fungi. So it's a completely circular solution for materials. And so we are about to open our pre-seed round in April of $500,000, so we can create our room scale pilot facility to get material in the hands of the customers who are so eagerly waiting for it. And we just recently got a bunch of LOIs in the fashion industry, but interest from automotive interior OEMs, prosthetics and orthotics. And I was just in New York last week on a trade mission, and someone doing high-end wall coverings and decor who was really interested. So there's a bunch of markets that we're unlocking in parallel with our fashion contacts. So we're really looking forward to opening this round.
Awesome. Mark, you've got a little bit of backlighting going on there, so we can't really see your face. I don't know if you can do anything about it or not. If you can. That's better. Yes.
Let me try.
Yeah, that's much better, actually.
Sorry, it's the only seat in the house. So Mark, you're CEO of Doclick.com, B2B health platform. Our mission is to empower patients in Canada and around the world to have easier access to all verticals of health professionals. So basically, long story short, we're the Expedia.com of healthcare. We are doing our first round of 1.5 million. We've completed terms for 66% of it and chasing the next 500,000 of our fund. So we're very excited, growing, and we're expanding coast to coast.
So you've closed 2/3 of it. Is that
Correct.
Okay?
Correct.
Great. Who are your investors?
They're, I think you would define them as super angels.
Okay, cool. We like super angels. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Marcello.
Hey everyone, Marcelo here, founder and CEO of Novacine. We automate the extraction of actionable insight from unstructured text data at scale using artificial intelligence. We are just coming out to raise our first round. We're looking for 750,000, and that will be our guessing our pre-seed or seed, depending on how you look at it. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Awesome. Hi, Okan.
Hi, everybody. This is Okan, the CEO and the founder of Ubili. Ubili is an email receipt wallet, basically, but our goal is to stop paper receipts. Now, in the market, there are tons of applications that takes a snapshot of the paper receipts and digitalize the receipts. But most of the POS systems are already able to issue email receipts, but on the consumer side, there's a problem because they don't want to share their contact information as individuals and the business owners, because when they share their contact information, they start to receive tons of marketing emails, spams and viruses, those type of things. So Ubili gets into the market to solve this problem, and basically it's a clean tech. As I said, it's to stop the paper receipts. We want to issue all the merchants email receipts, and we provide an email address to each user and block all the marketing emails. So with Ubili, you don't need to share your own personal information with the merchants, and your inbox will be safe and secure, and you will share your Ubili email address with all the merchants that can issue email receipts. We will take care of your receipts, extract the data and show you as a bank statement, and you will not be able to see any marketing and spam emails, and you can track your expenses easily. But on the other hand,
Can we move to the raise? We just want to move through quickly.
Okay, we're looking for 500K as a pre-seed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hi, Baha.
Yes, hello. My name is Baha. I'm the CEO and founder of Pharmacia to Go. We are an online platform specialized in optimizing prescription delivery fulfillment process for the pharmacies. So we are a B2B and our target audience are the pharmacies. We started back in 2022. That's when we launched our platform, and we did good traction for the first year. We got accepted in Accelerator, which is the Altitude Accelerator, and Invest Ottawa. And we just recently got also approved by IRAP. And we are currently looking for 450,000 as our first seed.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, Suzanne, and what we're doing for the intros is just a quick intro about your company and then moving to how you're doing, where you are with investment. Go ahead, Michelle. Oh, we're going to jump to Suzanne, I guess. Go ahead, Suzanne.
I'll keep it short and sweet because you caught me on the road, but I did not want to miss this. So I am the CEO and founder of The Clean Divorce, and currently it's a B2C looking to move it to a B2B. Basically, we empower families to go through difficult transitions. I also happen to be the president of the OAFM, that's the Ontario Association for Family Mediators, where I oversee mediators and lawyers, and we are creating a community within the Clean Divorce using technology to empower families to see themselves as action takers and create a platform for them to move forward into their new lives. So thank you.
Okay, wonderful. We're not sure who Enda is. Maybe he's using somebody else's name. Matt will sort that out. So Suzanne, if you can come back on video, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of slicing. If everybody can just wave, because snapshots on Zoom isn't that great, but at least if we wave, it looks like we're real people here. Matt, come on, wave with us. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much. You always got to do the social media. Thank you. It's just awesome. What an awesome group here. Really all over the place with your ideas. So creative and tenacious. We're going to move to the investor panel now. And so that will be with Kevin, Stuart, Ferran, Eric, and Victoria. Where did you go? Can you wave, Victoria? There you are. Okay, you're on that side. Okay. So yeah. So the idea of this really is investment is like any other type of business. It's built on relationships. You need to have more than relationships, but we work with real people, and what you will find is that most investors at CAN, associated with CAN, are very generous with their time and advice. So today we want to talk about, I just want to start with the panel around what's the starting point where you get excited, personally excited about an investment? What is that thing that just is like, wow, I really need to take a deep look at this? Kevin, starting with you.
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think for me, it just starts with a founder that's passionate about what they're working on, and ideally has some specific background in that market or with that specific problem, so it resonates with them. Being a founder is difficult, and so having a problem in a market that you resonate with for some reason really helps you to stick with it throughout the good times and the bad. It's a roller coaster. And then, there's all sorts of different things that we look at when we're considering investing, but that's probably the starting point of getting excited, and, just an interesting business that solves a really meaningful problem to the customer is probably the second. And then there's a long tail, but I'll hand it over to others to add to that.
Okay, thanks. Stuart, what's that first thing that grabs you and you say, okay, I have to do a deeper look at this company?
I mean, for me, this is the starting thing that gets me excited. There are plenty others that follow this, but if I could watch movies and TV all day, I would, just because I love stories. So having that really good storytelling, which leaves me with the impression that, I've heard the trailer and I desperately want to watch this movie. And often, to Kevin's point, that comes from a personal experience from the founder. But there are plenty of ways to get there. Yeah.
So if I'm reading between the lines, I'm hearing, don't shoot it all in the first bit, like pull me along.
If I don't have further questions, then
pull me along. Okay, thank you. Farhan, what's the thing in your role where you say, okay, we have to look at this company?
Yeah, for sure. So first interaction, as what Kevin and Stuart mentioned, is definitely really important. I think the personality and the whole passion about the company and the product the founder has is very critical. And then when the funder is telling us about the market fit, about the product proof point, then they even have some paying users that will even more proving like they actually looking at the whole market and understand it, actually fund the way to get in. Personally, I'm a woman, I'm an immigrant, so that two things always excited me. So I really like to work with a lot of female funders, newcomers, because this is a very tough market, and we'd like to really leverage whatever resource we have in the ecosystem and community to support them along the way.
Wonderful. Eric?
Well, I think for me, it comes down to personal story. I think, where we come from, our background, not just professionally, I mean, in terms of personally, it really is a good indication of where we might be heading to. And often when you meet entrepreneurs, they tend to shy away from that personal story as like where they've come from. For me, it is really important because it shows a little bit of an insight into that individual. When the going gets tough, where do you really go to kind of fill your well to keep going? And sometimes within a few moments, you can get an insight of that person's grit and the ability to be resilient in the face of difficulty based on where they've come from and often what challenge they face, which really is a good motivator for an individual trying to solve a problem. So for me, when I see that, and obviously that's the reason why I'm on the journey that I'm on. But if I can really, in a few moments, really get a sense, like you personally, where are you coming from? What's your life story? That's really what catches my attention.
Cool. Victoria.
Yeah, so I think this is a very tricky question to answer though, because just from my personal perspective, then I probably less on the storytelling side or whatever. Is like it's more about whether the message there could convince me there's something there. If I generalize it, I guess from angels' perspective, because angels are invest money on their own, it's not a fund. There's, even though like I want to have a mandate, but it's not something that you have it in the fund, whatever rule there. So it's really like whether the individual angels can resonate with the message that you provided. But I kind of witness such a how do I say that? It's very different because it's different personalities. Some angels that probably you need to be a person that likable. It's just then that they can that also you may need to be in the same at least for me, that I have to understand the story as well, right? So but that's a good thing, I guess, for the founders, that there may not be a fixed route there. Whatever you are doing, you just need to find someone that resonates with you. There could be different angels out there. Like I say no to this, I didn't get it, but that doesn't mean your idea is not right. So I in a way, I'm not sure what I'm answering the question, but
you are. Yeah, it's insightful. Thank you. I'm gonna change the course a little bit here, and I'm gonna ask Matt the same question, because although Matt works with me at CAN, he's also an angel investor, and I think you can provide some insight to this this subject.
Sure, and I guess I'll agree with what the others said, but one thing and a reason so many of you are part of this program and on this call today is because I love to see the enthusiasm of a good idea, and that excitement for the project you're working on. When something really wows me that a founder would take time to really focus on and build an idea out. I'll use someone on the call, Reza at Spatium. When he came to me and told me he wanted to build a gas station in space, my eyes light up. I think that's pretty amazing, and I'm probably butchering his pitch a bit, but I love that someone would take on an idea like that. So I'm looking for inspirational ideas and a founder's belief in themselves.
Okay, we introduced founders, and the questions that I'm asking, they can be very individual, and there's not necessarily a right answer to them, but I'm interested to know from all of you, what are the qualities that you're looking for in a founder? Kevin?
I guess going back to that first one of having had experience in the market or experienced that problem themselves in some way. I mean, it's not just the founder, right? It's the entire founding team having some of this across, typically it's tech companies, right? So having some ability to actually build a product and have the technical expertise would be another. But it's a lot about having balance across the team to be able to cover at least the major aspects of the business, from building the product to selling it or somehow generating revenue and having some of that business savvy, in addition to just the excitement that you can feel the founder have.
So this is the team that you've got confidence in to take it over the line, kind of thing. That makes complete sense. Is there, and do any of the panelists have anything to add on the team side? Any other things that they would look for the complete team, or some advice around that?
Yeah, so for my side, usually I think our team really like the founder can hustle. They really understand how to network, and then they know the way how to pitch to the right investors. Doesn't really matter they have failed business in the past. If they fund the right things again, you never know. So that's kind of one of the key personality we're always looking for. And the team definitely is important.
Anything to add to that?
I would just toss in being able to identify your weak spots, whether it's on the founding team or part of your advisory panel. If you're self-aware enough to be able to surround yourself with the people who you need to support yourself to be successful, that's a huge vote of confidence in my book. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. I'm going to move to common red flags that you see that are just like, hey, whoa, stop the buses here. Victoria, what are some red flags?
Maybe to me it would be anything that indicates there's some untrustworthy information out there, because I think that credibility and trust is fundamentally so critical in this early stage. Anything that have any red flag in that it could be no, because that means there's no foundation. Because in this stage, there's no way for any due diligence to figure out everything. That we have to build upon the trust on the founder team and in the statement. Because there are a lot of high profile cases we've seen, right? Like we couldn't understand why those VCs didn't do enough due diligence so that those cases, but in the early stage, it's actually a little bit different story, right? You don't really have much. So yeah, building your credibility, showing track records, and you don't need to present a perfect scenario there, because we know there's no way to be perfect, right? So, but that's the first thing that I would say.
Okay. Stuart, in your time at Greenbridge, has there been a company that you thought was like a great company to invest in, and then through the due diligence there was something that just was like, okay, this isn't gonna, there was a red flag there? Have you had that experience? Can you talk not to the company, but just like like what was the enormity of that red flag that just turned the deal sour?
The enormity of the item that turned the deal sour was about $380 million. And the reason I get to that number is when we start doing a deep dive and getting to know a company and a founder and gathering that information, having a view on the competitive landscape is really important. And half the time when I ask the question who your competitors are, it's to see who they are, but it's also to see if you've done your homework like I have. And the specific experience I'm talking about missed about $380 million of fundraising that had happened within the last 12 months in their specific sector that they were the first market entrant into. That just immediately blows up the trust. Yeah.
This is really interesting. It's when we are reviewing in our selection committee, et cetera, and post investor huddles, the competitive landscape seems to be the one thing at angel level that our group has been seeing is under researched. And I think sometimes people don't want to give the bad news, but like, what's the signal that you've really done your homework and really know how you can differentiate yourself in that space? So what, Kevin, do you have can you think of a case where a company was working in a really crowded space, but they were able to say, okay, these are our competitors, but we can still win in this space? Does anything come to mind how founders can be convincing that they can still like own a big chunk of a vertical market?
Yeah, I think the first step is to, well, have done the research and then be honest about what you've actually found, right? There actually just an example comes up today, actually, of a company I saw pitch, and they had sort of, not an uncommon way of looking at it, kind of a Venn diagram of 3 circles, so sort of 3 dimensions that exist that are important to this problem space, and then how they're the one in the center, and then there's others in the other, and they actually had another one in the center with them. And so it actually gave you confidence, like, okay, they've actually thought about it, and they're not, I don't know, delusional that there's no other competitors. So the fact that they actually called out that they had a direct competitor actually gave us a lot more confidence that they were, 1, realistic, 2, had done the research. And of course, now we're going to go and research that competitor, but I'm fairly confident when I follow up with them and ask, well, how do you differentiate against that competitor? Where are the differences? Why will you beat them? They'll have thought through that too. So I don't think there's harm in calling out more direct competitors. If anything, I think it adds credibility and kind of helps to build that trust. And I would come back to that trust piece that's been pointed out a couple of times as being really the fundamental important thing. It's a relationship business. You have to trust each other. It's a 2-way street as well. And I think the competitive landscape kind of built into that point as well.
And you can still be assertive and confident in
Totally
with your
there's always a competitor.
more
That's
so,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want a space with competition because it demonstrates there's a market there.
Yep.
Matt, I think you wanted to add something.
Well, I'll just add to that point, and Kevin just mentioned it at the end there. There's always competition, and there's so many great ideas out there and companies that can be built, but most have competition. And as investors, I don't think we're necessarily scared off by competition. It goes back to the team, the founders. Do they have that understanding of the competitive landscape, and do they have the other tools to succeed among the competition? The other point I wanted to make on red flags, I know we talked about it in our session 2 or 3 weeks ago on valuations, but even before we get into the deep dives or due diligence, the first thing we're looking at and even talking about our screening process at the Capital Angel Network, the first number that pops up is valuation. And there's nothing wrong with having a high valuation, but if the market tells you you're probably not ready for it, or the valuation doesn't make sense right now, that a founder willing to have that conversation and I don't want to say be reasonable, but be reasonable in terms of a conversation around valuation can save the opportunity. No doesn't necessarily mean no forever through CAN, but let's be open to having discussions and work with what the market's telling you on how to raise.
Anything else to add there? The panel?
I can, excuse me, I can go quickly. I think transparency, similar to what Matt and Kevin said, is so important. As an investor, you do not want to be surprised if there are major skeletons in your closet. You need to be forthcoming, and you don't want to surprise the investors. And I think that transparency, it shows that individual is open to not to show the good side or the promising side of the venture, but also this challenging side too. And then you can trust the ability to counter, the competition or the roadblocks that might come the way. But being able to really tell the full story from the get-go, the good and the bad, I think is really critical. And if you don't showcase that, it makes it really hard to move past that.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Let's talk about, I always I end up being I'm not a middleman, I'm more like a Sherpa in the process at Capital Angel Network. And it's always interesting to me because we have many different personalities, styles of investing, And I often hear different things from investors, like I'm looking for a signal, I'm looking for an assertive leader, I'm looking for somebody to take charge. And then we'll also hear like, you know, this person emailed me. So we're looking for the term sheet. I haven't done my due diligence yet. What's going on? So what's the best advice around like managing the relationship once you've done a presentation to the investor? What's a good tip to keep the things moving along, not spamming the person, showing strength? Kevin, what do you look for in that relationship, and I guess momentum in going from that initial like meeting through the steps of getting to close?
I mean, the advice I would give to founders is just to ask upfront in that first meeting what the investor's process is and what the different steps in their process are. Most, including angels, but certainly funds, will have a defined kind of set of steps that they're going to go through to make a decision. So get clarity on that from day one, and then as you're going through that, just ask, hey, when do you think you'll be able to follow up? Okay, it'll be a week. Okay, is it okay if I follow up with you in a week if I don't hear back? Yes. And from my perspective, you don't want to get 6 emails a day asking where something is, but if someone follows up after it's been longer than I said I would take, I'm very appreciative actually of that follow-up, because just busy and sometimes emails get pushed down at the bottom of the inbox. So by all means follow up, but I think have the expectation, asking up front how long, just like a sales process, right? How long, when are you going to get back to me? How do you make this decision? Great. And then act accordingly.
Okay, it is a sales process.
Yep.
The closing of a round is a sales process. Can anybody here on the panel describe the difference between, all founders are familiar with the sales process. How might it be different to get to closing a round as opposed to closing a commercial deal? Anybody have insight on that?
Well, I think they are fundamentally the same, right? It's asking for money. So you need to deliver value. In a way, I was trying to say that they are the same, and the techniques are pretty much the same at the fundamental level. It's just the tactics could be different because you are selling different things. You need to have a different set of language to deliver the value and benefit. But if many of the founders or businesses are B2B, SaaS, whatever, especially B2B, this is very similar to B2B then. It's not B2C. So it's a kind of one-to-one sales rather than marketing. So I've seen founders using marketing techniques probably not necessarily work for investor. So that, to be honest, I've never convinced that we should use HubSpot for investors engagement, even though I constantly get their commercial, but I couldn't see the way of how you can automate all these processes because every conversation is different. That's probably the difference that I see there.
Very one-to-one. Any other comments on moving through and helping guide or keep those investors interested and with you, top of mind, till you get through to close? And how do you know you're ready to close?
Yeah, maybe I can add it here. A lot of time, I think from the investor side, to know there might be a different reason from what you are thinking about. Because sometimes it really also about the pipeline the fund has, the thesis that we had. It might not really be your side of the issue about the technology or market fit that the usually things that you think from closing a sales deals. So it's more about the communication. You really understand where this no is coming from. Don't take it personally. This no doesn't mean the second time it will be another no again. So keep the relationship going, as the other panelists talking about the trust. It's a relationship building things. It's not a first transaction things. so we can keep it
Okay.
moving forward.
Really good point. So building relationships takes interaction. Investors aren't really always that easy to get a hold of. Kevin, what were tips that you used when you were raising to build those relationships with your investors?
I mean, I think we've covered some of it. The idea that it is a sort of understanding. It's a lot like a sales process, but not like being, I don't know, like a used car salesman or salesperson or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with being a car salesman or salesperson, but really understanding what that individual investor or firm is looking for, and then you can tailor your messaging into that, right? Like, don't change what your business does. Don't, you're not building your business for the investors, you're building it for other reasons. But to the extent you do have a few different areas you can focus on, tailoring it to make sure you're at least covering the main thesis points or whatnot that fund or investor might have, I think is a good tip, in addition to staying in touch if things are taking longer. Another thing that I thought of as Victoria or as Farron was talking was also it's nice to get the investor kind of updates that you might be sending to other investors or potential investors during that process. You might already be sending it at a monthly cadence, for example, and often it takes more than a month for a fundraising to close, and to then see that progress. Hey, they closed these deals, they achieved these milestones, whatever the thing might be. That's also another nice. You can actually see that progression and traction as you're in the process.
So momentum live happening now. Things are going on. Awesome. Any other points to add? Matt, did you want to jump in?
Well, one thing I'll add, at Capital Angel Network, we see probably close to 50 applicants monthly trying to get in front of our group. And I imagine Farhan, Kevin and Stuart see even more than that. So whatever sales tactics you're using, do something. Don't sit by and wait, because so many opportunities are coming across the desks of investors that it's easy for us to get distracted, to move on to the next one, or possibly to forget. So don't sit back and expect the investor to come to you. Get out there and stay in contact, and to Kevin's point, build those relationships, so you're top of mind when all the other opportunities are coming your way.
Eric, did you have something?
Yeah, I think it has to be a mindset. Unlike a transactional corporate deal, which you might get away with a short-term mindset, when it comes to a round of investment, you really have to look at it, that long-term relationship. From a fund perspective, you are essentially locking into a relationship, sometime 10 years with your investors. And I think if you really see it that way, it will really inform some of the behavior and how you engage with these individuals, is to really look at it from that long-term standpoint. Are these people you want to be on that journey with for that long? So that's my take on that.
I think that's a great point, Eric, and I think Audrey has some lived experience of recognizing the journey that you're taking with the investor, and making sure that's a relationship you want to move forward with, and before you sign any contracts. Audrey, if you want to jump in, you can, but I don't want to put you on the spot again.
You do that all the time. It's okay. I've spoken to a few of you. The other founders have actually reached out to me privately to discuss this, and I think that's one of the great things about being involved in this group. It's really hard to I've actually had to go after some investors really hard, that I really wanted them to invest, because it wasn't just their money, it was their experience and their understanding of the space. And I've had to pursue them like harder than I've pursued almost anything. And eventually, and most of the time it's paid off. Other times I've been able to close certain groups very quickly. I think I've mentioned this to you all before. Hustle Fund in the States was very interesting how, and they meet with so many founders. I was able to close them fairly quickly, which was interesting. And others required 15 Zoom calls, 3 lunches, 5 coffees, and but it's worth it, right? Because eventually you get them on your team, and these people have this background and they're on your team now. They're in it for the long haul. And I mentioned it was really, really hard. We all know how much we need this money to survive, and I can't believe we walked away from, more than $500,000. But at the end of the day, what was interesting, it was, and I'll say this again, it was a tweet from Hustle Fund founder that said, and this is important, when you choose your investor, which is like a different mindset that we have, right? When you choose your investor, make sure that you would feel okay being married to them for the next 7 to 10 years of your life. And when I read that, and I thought about this group that had just had proposed a term sheet, I thought to myself, I can't do this. So I think that's an important way to flip the story a little bit. As much as we're looking for investors and we're looking for funds, we also should be making sure that we're finding the right fit, and how important that is, because they're going to be with you for a long, long time. And I'm divorced, so I can say how important, what that experience would be like, and you don't want that for your business. So
well said. So we just have one final question here, and then we're going to go to Q&A to the floor. And because you've been hearing my voice a lot, I'm going to put the Q&A over to Matt to moderate that, if you're cool. So the last question was brought up by one of our investors at Cliffbreak Family Office. He's a board member at CAN, and he said it was really important. So he talked about coachability and what coachability actually means. So I don't want to steal his thunder. He couldn't come tonight, but I'm interested. Let's start with Stuart. What's that balance of coachability that works?
For myself, I find it's when you find yourself in that really strong dialogue. You're working through a problem, not individually, but together. And the reason is I'm not a subject matter expert on any of your businesses, and I'm going to need to rely on that knowledge. But I am a critical thinker, and I see things from a different perspective, and I can add value that way. So it's just being able to openly communicate that value to one another to push that conversation forward, and then show the follow-up. We're talking about sales process, show that follow-up that whatever we talked about actually occurred, and what was the feedback from it? Maybe it didn't work, that's fine, let's talk. Yeah. Okay,
cool. Kevin, what if investor says something and they don't know, really, they don't get it? They're trying to give some, like, what is your relationship at Graphite with your portfolio companies, where you can step in and advise or contribute, and when do you expect to be listened to? Like, what are those kinds of conversations with your portfolio companies about forward around coaching?
Yeah, so it's about collaboration. I think we have actually 3 core values that we believe in, both within Graphite Ventures and then in terms of how we work with portfolio companies: trust, which we talked about, discipline, and then collaboration, which is a lot about coachability. And I think what you're looking for is that both parties will just have a real conversation and consider what is being said, think about it, maybe do some research, and then maybe act on it, maybe not. Because, I mean, wearing the investor hat here, we don't know the details of your business. We don't know the ins and outs of the market necessarily. But we see many, many companies, and we've seen many succeed and many fail. And so we see some of the things that work and some of the pitfalls. And so if we share that, then as a founder, it's a great input to consider and think about if that applies to your business, maybe get advice from some others, and then decide what to listen to and what not to, but at least consider it and don't outwardly ignore it, because it's almost always coming from a good place to hopefully help you and help the business.
I'm going to ask a very assertive lady on this call here, Victoria. What do you think about when you're collaborating? Where's the role of pushback? How does that come in?
Oh, so maybe I can just step back a little bit. So it's kind of generalize it that actually coachable is one of the key characteristics we are looking for among the founders, right? So if there's any indication of that us feel, regardless how strong the founders are, but if they are not coachable, that's actually a red flag. So then in any follow-up, whatever it's already the portfolio company or not, every conversation about potential coaching, being coached, or whatever, we do expect there could be pushback, right? No one is perfect, right? So that's fine. It's not about whether the suggestions or whatever specific things are being accepted or being implemented, but rather it's look at the interaction that indicating whether this is a sort of healthy and professional and like a coaching session, like to demonstrate that there's professionalism and there, because no one knows what's the answer in this innovative early stage world. No one knows the answer. It is the founders who fundamentally take responsibility. So to be honest, whenever I was involved in that, it's really a conversation about, okay, these are ideas, these are proposals. What do you think? Right. So it's fine to being pushed back, I would say. It's really about the conversation itself and the interaction itself to provide a value there.
Well, I want to move to Q&A with the audience now, because time is moving forward. Matt, if we can, polls come back. If we can take Q&A till 6:30, and then those people that want to hang back and do some smaller rooms with the investors, then we'll move to a different stage. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay. Are there any questions for the group? The floor is open for any questions with our group of investors. Reza, why don't you start?
You can't put me on the spot. I'm just thinking about the question. Right now, nothing at the moment, but I'll probably ask question later. Sorry, I don't have anything right now.
Anybody have any? Oh, sorry.
Hey, go ahead.
So for a company like ours, Marshmallow Studio, that's our first main flagship product is a sports dedicated application. For our seed round, ideally we would want to look for corporations or investors that invest in sports companies or edutech companies. If we have future innovations and future products that also need funding, but are not in the sports realm, would that affect our seed round? Or would that affect how we will look for investors for the seed round? How would that work for a multi-category company?
I can take a shot. I mean, the way I would think about it is, at least for us, we're looking to invest in a sort of a company and a team, really even more so than the product, or at least we would never think of investing at least in just that product, and then that same team would somehow build another product, and then they'd get different investors in, right? We really want to invest in the team and the company, and that could be the first product. And if you have a roadmap that talks about other products, great. And then probably there should be some logical order that those products or offerings are coming in, right? Whether it's expanding within the same vertical with a different product, different functionality, but to the same customer base, or maybe it's the same product or technology, but then in expanding around different markets to increase market size that way. That's how I would sort of maybe reframe slightly the way you're asking it. We're not looking to invest in sort of one product and then you're going to build another one. We want to invest in the whole team, the whole company, until that company reaches its, if it ever, I mean, maybe it could IPO, maybe it gets sold, whatever that outcome is. That's how I'd be thinking about it. Happy to answer again, or if you want to clarify, but hand it over to others to give their take.
Great, Kevin. Ayo, any follow-up?
I know that answered the question well. Yeah.
Great. Nabil.
Yeah, hi. Just a question that is in a lot of people's minds, perhaps. Any impact on the investor community with the events that recently happened with the Silicon Valley Bank? You know, in your kind of investment portfolio going forward, or, you know, any impact that you see on your side?
I'm not sure about others on the call, but our portfolio does span down into the United States. I'm very happy to report we don't have any direct effects. But I think the overarching effect that it has had is increased attention, increased scrutiny, and possibly increased regulation going forward. So making sure that you have an awareness of that market is important. You know, lending terms might be affected because of this. Keep that in your head and be realistic with that information. Yeah.
Yeah, for our portfolio company, because it's all Ontario based, there's no significant direct impact, but we've been reaching out to quite a few of them because these companies, they have US customers, they have US investors involved as well. So which we did hear quite a few of them had some experience for the last week. But at the end, it was resolved, fortunately. So we're also, because for us, it's a public fund back. We're also at the back end having some conversation to see what we can moving forward from a public fund perspective to supporting the companies in the ecosystem together with some private funds together.
Our portfolio companies have also had limited impacts. I think longer term, we'll see. I mean, also assuming there's no further issues with the banking system, but if we assume everything sort of stays the way it is and deposits are covered, then you're left with sort of one less major player in the market. Like SVB was certainly one of the more competitive players when it came to venture debt, for example. It just means there's one less and a big one kind of investor out there. And as a result, I think as Stuart was saying, probably it's realistic to assume that the terms, at least for a little while, won't be as strong because one of the more competitive players is sort of out of the race, and others are going to be more cautious and not have the competitive pressure, both those things. And then in addition, probably US investors have a little more cleanup to do here, whether it's to just help their portfolio companies find a new bank or replace venture debt that they had in place. And so they may be busier for a period here, which means there may be less US investor activity for a little while, which again could just tighten up the ability to raise equity investments as well for some short period of time. I think long term, it's not going to have a major impact, assuming nothing gets worse.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing is, well, actually, we've seen activities slow, investment actually slowing down for the whole year almost, especially after the war in early 2022. So in that sense, it's not dramatically changed because of that, but it is a very phenomenal, like event that's just triggering people's nerve about it. But when you now stay back, you can see that it's actually, it's just a trend that happening for the whole year. So actually, I can also share from my my entrepreneur side, and actually just at the first time, like Saturday, I got an email from our investor asking us whether we're impacted and they can be helpful. They want to help. Unfortunately, we are a Canadian company that are not banking with SVB, so not directly impacted by that. So I would say overall, the ecosystem definitely is not as boom as what we're seeing, especially in 2021. But that's a bubble that can't sustain. So we're not kind of, back into the space where it's really fundamentals matters. So in a way, that whoever, all these startups that can survive this situation will thrive later. So anyway, that's just my what I learned from both my investor hat and entrepreneur side, especially on the investor side. I know that, the valuation will not be crazy. So when there's a good deal, we should go in.
Great, thanks, Victoria. Nabil, any other thoughts to add?
Thank you for these comprehensive answers. Appreciate it.
Karen, go ahead.
Hi. So my product is for an enterprise-wide solution, and currently the services that are offered on the platform are most beneficial to a larger organization. So our contract size can be fairly large, and it's a very long lead sales process. So I'm curious about, I guess, what assurances or what questions you might have as an investor looking at portfolio. From our client perspective is that we have few clients, but potentially very large contracts. And then like I said, the long lead process in terms of getting signed contracts for those future clients kind of extensive. So I'm just kind of curious what comes up in your mind upon that.
Stuart, you want to try this one?
I'll kick it off. I would say if you're able to provide any insight into your sales pipeline, that would be a strong indicator. And not just identified opportunities, but truly gated sales pipeline. That way, reasonable people can make reasonable assumptions about deals falling off, and we can make reasonable assumptions of what gets to the finish line. But also showing the stickiness of your existing clients, testimonials, showing low churn rate. Those would all be really important data points.
Thanks, Stuart. Kevin, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just add, maybe it's one of those questions on first meeting with your potential investors as to if that's a space they're comfortable with, or just basically ask the exact question. This is the nature of our business. How does that fit with your thesis? Like for us, and we're more seed or than pre-seed, so we have a little more ability to have some data points. Otherwise, it's a big contracts. It's hard to have 10 customers and have all big contracts and still be within kind of that pre-seed and even sometimes seed bucket. We're focused on B2B and enterprise customers. We prefer companies that have high ACVs or high contract values. Other firms or investors are the opposite, right? They want more SMB, lower ticket price, faster sales cycle. And it's not always cut and dry between, there's overlap in both, but I would ask that question up front with the potential investor. And if they might just say, hey, it's not really a fit, okay, no problem. You don't have to spend your time there. You can spend your time building relationships with other investors.
That's great. Karen, does that help?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Baha.
Yeah, thank you. My question is basically in relation to what was mentioned about what factors you look into that might raise interest for you to invest. I want to ask if it's as we know, as a sales process, when we're basically and talking to someone trying, to probably promote our product or our service or our technology, we always learn that they basically buy into us before buying into the product first, which is something like, through my experience, I've always seen. Would that also reflect with you as an investor? I mean, before talking about the product or whatever or the business that we're trying to promote here, of course, it has to make sense. Something has to solve a problem, a real problem. But the first thing that makes you interested in an investment would be the person who's probably bringing this opportunity to you.
Yeah, maybe I can give a shot on this one. So for me, yes, or for the team, especially investor talks to investor as well. Even this might not be the best investment fit for our fund. That doesn't mean we don't believe your product or the company can move forward. So for example, like I talk to Kevin every month and we talk about companies that we have mapped. Sometimes we feel, hey, maybe you could look up, you could take a look instead of us because we have a different thesis here. But we really like this funder because he or she knows the market space, he or she has the experience. So these always put through like in front of us as a first impression, like very critical. Even the market sometime or the technology itself, we still feel, hey, we have some questions, but we feel we can talk to this funders, and then a few pairs of eyes can look together. We might can share the opinions as well.
Right.
And if I can build on what Ferenc said, at the early stage is mostly on the individual. The technology and all of it obviously makes, it's important, but being able to articulate, what you bring to the table, what vision, and the vision has to also be big enough. So I think at the early stage, there is more to it than, of the personal journey, who you are as a person, more than the technology and, and everything. Again, not to undermine that piece being important, but I think being able to really sell yourself, because often each investor's, thesis or fund thesis is driven by trying to accomplish some sort of an impact, whether creating an impact in a specific sector or an impact in a certain group of people. So being able to connect to it and then get to the technology, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I want to probably a different opinion here that overall, yes, first impression is very important. But if you look at the fundraising sort of the process, there are those just a very few minutes that you present there, which means you don't necessarily to be a really charming person per se. You just need to practice that pitch, So actually now the whole system, or the ecosystem or whoever, all realized that people have that sort of unconscious bias because of that first impression. So we've seen that like women funders are under funded and minorities, immigrants, whatever. So actually the system realized that there are there are things that being influenced by this first impression theory, which we cannot deny because people might not vote in that way. But now I would say there are ways for you to mitigate that impact. And that's what, from both sides, from funder side, from investor side, we are all trying to make it better or easier, that to allow funders that not being influenced by some unconscious bias in a way. So just be aware, yeah, this principle that then you can play your strength, right? Like you can influence the impression in multiple ways, not just pitch there. emails or LinkedIn messages. All these matters, right? And also now there are a lot of other ways to give you access to investors, and or you can bring in more team members, whatever. So I just want to say that yes, team are important, like, sort of personal relationship is important, but that's not the decisive factor here. And now, especially now, we have more tools available. Try to address that.
Great, thanks. Baha, did that help?
Absolutely, thanks.
Great. Running out of time a little bit here, but we'll get to the last two questions. Reza, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute, Reza.
Wow, it still happens. Classic. Just a question regarding the fundraising strategy. Maybe an odd question. It's because we've been talking to a couple of other founders. I mean, I guess I'm talking more of a space industry here. Because it's so capital heavy, something, and with how the market is really crashing and all this stuff going on, a strategy that a couple of other founders implemented is to, instead of raising a really large fund, they essentially break it up to smaller chunks and start raising each chunk one after another. Was wondering if in your portfolio companies, if someone has done that and how did that work out for them? Because now we've been talking to investors, some of them really like the idea of breaking it down. The others just don't want to invest because when we break it down, it's too small for them. It just kind of, we're getting a confused messaging, like what's going on. We're just curious in your portfolio, if like what have your companies done and how that's working out.
Reza, how big of chunks do you mean, maybe in terms of runway? We can frame it that way.
Oh, I guess that's a good question. I think some of the companies we've talked to, some of them, they break it down to 3 to 4 month runway chunk. Some of them to 6 to 8 months is like vary between that. None of them go above 12 months. That's kind of what we've seen people have been doing. So that's what made me curious, is like, is it a good way of doing it? Because the runway is short, is like once you finish, you're like, oh, now it's the next round, but you haven't had time to implement that money, actually grow the business. You're like, okay, what's going to happen to your valuation? But some people do that because the way the current market is.
Yeah. So my opinion would be, I, as the founder, would not want to do that. And as the investor, I also be uncomfortable because one, if you're fundraising every 4 months at a time or 6 months at a time, I mean, it can take 4 to 6 months to actually close an investment round, right? So that means you're going to be perpetually fundraising, excuse me, and then not building the business as a result. One way that's similar to structure it that I have seen that does work is sort of negotiate the whole deal up front that will last you more in the sort of 18 to 24 months, but to break it up into milestone based or tranche based chunks. So up front all the terms, what you have to hit, whose option it is based on what's hit or not. And that way you're not stuck fundraising every 4 to 6 months, but you get some of the advantages on both sides of breaking it up. That's how I've seen it done and how I would approach it, both as the investor and as the founder, if it made sense to break it up into chunks like that.
So just to clarify, I guess, so essentially you have a big one, you break it out to chunks to like important milestones, and then the fund essentially get deployed after achieving one milestone. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you could pick whatever milestone. It could be a technical milestone. It could be a number of customers or MRR. It could really be defined any way. Hey, when you get whatever, the first 200K day one, if within the first 6 months you achieve X amount of MRR, the next 200K is automatically released and kind of so on and so forth, but to last. Because the reason is, well, one, you don't want to invest fundraising all the time. But two, you end up in this situation where different investors tend to focus on, well, pre-seed, seed, Series A. And although it's not a perfectly defined definition, it really is a spectrum. There are kind of, you know, if I'm a seed stage investor. So if someone comes to me and says, hey, we're raising 100K, I know it's not for me. If they're raising 8 million, I know it's not for me. And so the risk you run by having too small amount of money and too little runway is you end up kind of in between these zones where both investors kind of say, oh, it's not for me. And you're kind of lost in the middle of this, of those stages. And so you want to make sure you have enough capital and runway to get to hit the milestones to be kind of more squarely in the zone of that next batch of investor focus. And if you are raising enough for kind of 3 or 4 months or 6 months at a time, likely you're going to find yourself in the middle, and then it's not comfortable for either group's kind of thesis. You know, if that helps, or if others want to jump in and maybe add to that or have a different opinion.
Anyone else want to jump in? Reza, did that help?
Yes, that helped a lot. It's great. Thank you, Kevin.
Great. Last question, Marcello.
Actually, I answered my own question.
Great. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we're I think at the point where we'll move into breakout rooms when if everyone's ready. But I wanted to take a minute first of all for anyone that does have to leave. It's been a great 7 or 8 weeks with all of you going through this program, but we want to continue this relationship, and we hope that everyone will apply through the Capital Angel Network. Take some of the lessons that we've learned over the last few weeks, and we're happy to work with you through the application process. We meet monthly as an organization and meet with founders monthly and for pitches. If you aren't ready this month or next month, but want to look down the road, let's stay in touch. Let's keep working together, but make sure that you come through the process and have a chance to meet with our membership and our 90 or so investors that meet regularly. So I'm just going to share a link. I don't want to, Kevin just posted, make sure you connect with him on LinkedIn, but I'm going to share a link to our application process. Take a minute, get in our deal room. Even if you don't want to apply for the next month or two, take time to fill out the profile, and then we can continue to communicate, and when you're ready, move forward. And Suzanne?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Yeah, just a couple other little things, because I know maybe some of you aren't going to stay for this last 20 minutes or so. Matt will send you out a survey. We are looking for what parts of this program were really beneficial to you. What could we drop off? What could we add for another cohort? If we were to do a CANLABS 2, what would you be looking for? Like the next step? Really looking for your customer. We develop for your feedback. We've developed this for you, this program, and I think the other thing is, our sponsors, Denton's and Number Crunch and TCC Canada, they'll also be continuing to send you some packages. TCC Canada had offered for local people, they could come and do their investor meetings. I'm going to talk to them and see if maybe we can just do something a little bit different as well. So you can just use that space as being part of this program. I think that's really it. Matt's going to set up some rooms, and basically how we envision this is whichever one of those investors you want it to speak with, jump into their room. Is there anybody who's going to leave now who doesn't want to stick around? So Audrey's going to leave. Thank you, Audrey, for coming and providing your insights. So Matt, you can do the math and structure the rooms, I guess. Hold B to broadcast your voice to all rooms. Ooh, sounds
Thank you.
powerful. See you, Audrey. Thank you so much for
Bye.
coming.
Thanks. Take care.
Appreciate it. Where did Matt go? We lost Matt?
Is this our room?
I don't know. I'm not sure. He's disappeared. Hold on a second. You can look
There
up.
are 2 rooms open that people can join.
There are breakout rooms. So basically what you do is if you see a room with the investor you're interested in, they're all here. So Farad is in room 2. Room 1 has Curtis. But I don't know where. Oh, Matt got kicked out. Okay, that explains it.
He's back. There we go.
Matt, we thought you went through a secret passageway or
I
something.
got kicked out.
Okay, we were confused. What do we do?
Sorry, you just have to make me co-host again.
Oh, I can do that. We're starting over from the beginning. Thanks. There we go.
Yeah, we can actually join breakout rooms as we like, right?
That's right.
Yeah. How many rooms are you making?
2.
Are you just making 2? Okay.
Getting closer.
Make a investor, right?
I think you can just jump in if you want. It should be in the other room. So if you're in a room and there's somebody in particular you want to talk to, you can go to the other room.
Oh, Nabil, what's
Okay.